Hello everybody, Incon here with the much awaited Mage build middle, guys. I know I had released a Hunter build middle, and then I was like, and then I'll get to the Mage build and I'll get to it later because Hunter's the best mids right now. And then basically like a week or two later, Hi-Rez was like, oh my god, Hunter's the best mid right now, we gotta do something. So then they nerfed my Hunter build, which made Hunters not the best middle anymore. Not to say the Hunter's a bad mid, because they're not. You know, Neath still works middle, Itanami still works middle. You could still run Hunters middle, but they're not necessarily the overarching best class for mid like they used to be a couple patches ago now. So now, we've settled into a mid build. It seems that they've kind of changed the things that they want to change in terms of items. So hopefully this build will last you longer than, you know, a week. We just very recently had a patch. We won't have a patch for a little bit. They probably won't touch on things too much on, at least item-wise. You know, maybe the gods will change, you know, that are good. Like Zonqui's getting a buff. But, you know, the build should stay pretty standard. So, first of all, this is a handsome-ass Zeus skin. That has nothing to do with this, but it's just so good. Anyway, into the god builder. We're going to have a couple options here for starter items. But your number one starter item that you're going to be looking at is actually going to be Soulstone now. So they changed Soulstone in this last patch. Like I said, so many patches, so many changes. And it doesn't even say it on the tooltip. They didn't even update the tooltip. But Soulstone now, when you get your 5 stacks, so any abilities used in the next 3 seconds deal bonus magic damage of 40 power, okay? So first of all, that's good. Any ability for the next 3 seconds. So you can use your whole kit basically in the next 3 seconds. And it gives you 40 mana back on the first ability used. So Soulstone basically has a bit of mana regen again on it. Think of it kind of like an MP5. It's basically like a minus 40 mana cost on your ability. Which if you're only using your ability when you have your Soulstone proc up is actually a ton of mana saving. Now, that's your generic mage item, is Soulstone. With Zeus, it's different because Zeus doesn't actually need the Soulstone to clear. Almost every other mage does. I'm talking Isis, Janus, whatever, Soul. Get the Soulstone for clear. Zeus, because of his second ability, the Aegis Assault, doesn't actually need it. I would recommend still getting Sands of Time for the cooldown on Zeus. But basically, everybody else in the game, you want to get Soulstone on right now. Very, very strong for the early game clear. Of course, Sands of Time is still, guys, the better mid-game item. If you feel confident you don't need the Soulstone to get through the early game, go for it. But I have found that my clear in the mid lane with Soulstone, with other people not getting it, is just so much better, which means we get their speed buff or their red buff every single game. Secondly, to start it off, you're going to get Boomba's Mask skill. But Incon, Boomba's Mask got changed. I thought Boomba's Mask wasn't going to be good anymore. No, Boomba's Mask actually is better than it was. So what they did was they changed the passive, so now the closest allied god gets the passive from Boomba's, okay? So before it was last hit, now it's the closest god. All that means is now you and your jungler don't have to slow down your DPS on any of the buffs to give the heal to who you want to give it to. Your jungler needs the heal? Cool, you just stand back. You need the heal? Cool, you're by yourself, you get the heal. Or hey, you're at half HP and you're going to go do the mid harpies and your jungler's with you, your jungler just take a step back and then you get the mid heal. So much easier to designate who's getting the heal. It's just better overall for everybody. Particularly it's better for the jungler, but it's still better for the mid laner because now you can very easily give the jungler the heals when he needs them and go take them when you need them. Fantastic. So that's what you're looking at. Your starter item is generically Soulstone, Boombas, plus of course your potions. Make sure you have your wards set up on your consumable bar so you don't forget to buy them. Think with my brain. So, what are we doing with this build now? We're going right into our boots, guys. Pen boots are still the superior boot. I like cooldown boots a lot, but the damage reduction from the 10 pen, which shouldn't even be that much, right? Like it's 10 pen, there's like what, an extra 15 power, but it's an extra 100 gold. You lose mana, you lose cooldown. I've tried so many times to make cooldown boots work, every time I get pen boots, guys, I feel so much stronger. It's ridiculous. Now, maybe Soulstone into cooldown boots, right? Because, you know, it won't be overkill. You still get the bonus damage from Soulstone. As far as I'm concerned, you're still looking at Soulstone, and the Shoes of the Magi gives you a ton of damage at the start of the game. A ton. Next up, guys, this is actually something that I've mixed up very recently. I've been getting Dynasty Plate Helm. Dynasty Plate Helm. The most important thing about this item is because it's your first item after boots, you want it to be cheap, okay? You want it to be cheap because you want to start to get... Because the game is so early focused, everything is so in the first 10, 15 minutes of can you invade buffs? Can you win a Gold Fury fight? Can you do this, that, and the other? Being able to get that next item online as quick as possible. So an item that's only 1,700 gold, that gives you everything you need. Magical power, magical pen, and a little bit of physical protection to make you tanky. Okay? Very strong right now. You get those pretty quick. Moving into our next item, we're going to keep going with that little bit of tanky-ish vibe. A lot of the mid laners right now think your Zeuses, your Ices, your Vulcans even. Our characters, they don't have that much getaway, so they need a little bit of tankiness. I run this build even on gods like Janus, who have plenty of getaway because it just ends up being good. It's one of our newer items, which is going to be Ethereal Staff. So Ethereal Staff now is expensive, right? 2,700 gold. Pretty dang expensive. But what you can get is that tier 2, which is very nice. 50 power, 150 of health, a little bit of crowd control reduction. You get that pretty quick, only 1,350. And then it takes a while to get the Ethereal Staff. So why are we getting Ethereal Staff? One, huge deal of tankiness for us, okay? 200 health and 20% crowd control reduction is massive for a mid laner. Your beads are going to be down at some point, and you're going to get CC'd, so you might as well have a way to reduce it. 90 flat power is great, considering you already have 25 penetration from your helmet and your boots, meaning that a bunch of flat power can do you good. The passive now gives you basically a tiny Soul Reaver proc. It's 5% max health every 10 seconds. So you can proc this very, very often. Almost all mages are based off of poke. For Zeus, you do the 2-1 combo. Spirit Ball from Isis, you throw out a Janus Unstable Vortex, you throw out a Portal, whatever. Soul 2, you're always poking as a mage. An extra 5% max health. Particularly, this item scales well into the late game. As you get later on, people get more base HP, people build HP items. It's going to help you a ton do damage. Now, finally, as your last core item, because you're going to be hitting pretty hard now, you have options. I find that at this point in the game, I find myself having troubles against the tankier targets, so I like to go right into Obsidian Shard. If you don't feel as though their team is too tanky, you can skip this item fourth, put it as your 5th item, and then grab something more aggressive like a Rada Tahuti. But by that point of the game is typically when you're starting to see the magical defense on your supports, your solo laners, even your junglers if you've got like a Guardian or Warrior in the jungle. So that's typically when you need to get the Obsidian Shard online. Particularly too thrives well with gods like Zeus, who have such high base damage that as long as you have the penetration, and you can utilize that base damage, plus with the Ethereal Staff passive, you do an absurd amount of damage. Getting towards the end of the build now, you're going to want to pick up Rada Tahuti. Still one of the strongest items in the game for mages. Increases that magical power by 25%, plus gives you 125 magical power. And of course, the MP5, so you never run out of mana late game. You can get that as your 4th item. You don't need to. But like I said, if you feel like maybe their support's a tank. They ran an assassin solo. So you're not feeling like they're too tanky. Go ahead and grab the Tahuti and then the Ob Shard 5th. Next up on our damage items, we get a little bit more leeway. I find that because there's no cooldown in this build yet, I like to round it off with a Chronos Pendant. Chronos Pendant's a very interesting item for those who haven't looked at it too much this season. Still gives basically the same stats, right? 60 magical power, MP5, 20% cooldown reduction. 20% cooldown is going to be glorious for you since you didn't have any cooldown earlier in the build. Now, every 10 seconds, this pendant activates. It subtracts 1 second from all your abilities on cooldown. This is going to be great for you in the late game, particularly in things like making sure your ultimate is up for a team fight. I like it at the end of the game. Any earlier and it's too expensive, 2,900 gold for its value. But at the end of the game, the cooldown reduction on your abilities that are already hitting super hard, the extra passive cooldown works wonders in your late game. Now, if you need defensive items on a mid laner, you have a couple options if you want to mix it up. If you're going to go a physical defense item, Spectral Armor is really great. I really recommend running this as your standard build, these 6 core items right here. But if the situation arises and you're like, hey, I need a physical defense item this game, look at Spectral Armor. That fear is going to keep you alive more than anything else. If you need a magical defense option, you actually have some interesting things you can run. You can, one, go Stone of Foul. It gives you the cooldown. If you're worried about things like a Thothel late game, okay? And you're like, well, I've got a 5-item build. I need my last item. Stone of Fall is a great item to make sure you don't get one-shot by the Janus ults, the Thothels, the Poseidon ults of the world. It's what I would recommend over the other magical defense items if you need it. And if you need a generic health item, you want to always be looking towards your Wing Blade or your Relic Dagger. One of these 2 items is going to be your way to go. Wing Blade, of course, better against slows. Gives you a little bit more HP. Relic Dagger, though, can help a lot if you're thinking you're going to have problems with your relic cooldowns, your beads, your Aegis. And if you think that, you know, they've got an Athena and a Ymir, your beads are going to be in cooldown all the time, and you need help with that, maybe grab yourself that Relic Dagger. The extra 20% cooldown, you know, is going to end up being like 20 to 30 seconds off of a cooldown. That can save your life in multiple fights throughout the game, prevent deaths, save objectives from dying. Great item to think about getting. As far as Relic goes, I mean, you're pretty standard here on your Relics. You're either going to be starting the game with Beads or Aegis, and then you're basically just going to be grabbing the other one. The only exception, really, is going to be possibly Bracer of the Undoing, most likely as a second active, if you're feeling real confident and you just want it more so even for the aggression than for that cooldown more than any other aspect of the item. But almost always, guys, get Aegis or Beads depending on their team comp. They've got big money ults, get yourself the Aegis. They've got a ton of CC, get yourself the Purification Beads. They've got both, throw a dice, and everything over 3 is Beads. But that's kind of the build we're looking at here, guys, for Season 4 Mages. I've been running this on every single Mage that I've been playing, and it's worked on every single Mage. Of course, Season 4, more than any other season, you have to pay a little bit more attention to team compositions, to vary your build maybe slightly throughout the games, you know, like these defensive items. You never know when you're going to need them, so pay attention to it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me a question down in the comments if you have anything to talk about the build, or let me know if you try it out and how it works. I've been having great success with this build in ranked, so I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget, guys, to like, comment, and subscribe. Just by like, commenting, and subscribing, you can win gems up to 8,000 every single month from the Incon YouTube channel. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a twitching day, y'all. It's the final countdown. Ba-da-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-ba-boo. Ba-da-ba-boo. The final countdown.